1960. It was an unexpected homecoming. Tragedy abruptly summoned Maurice Lewis, then 27, back to his central Arkansas hometown, where he just recently celebrated a Christmas family reunion hosted by his minister father. His mother, presumed to finally be recovering from a series of illnesses, had suffered an anomalous and fatal relapse. Mrs. Lewis's death, though unexpected, was not unaccepted.
There's supposed to be a meaning to all this, Padre?
There's meaning to everything. Sometimes hidden from us, though.
Recurring reversals of fortune and misfortune, apparent improvisations of fate, all seemingly serve to test, confirm, and generally characterize the faith of Maurice's immediate family, that is, the clan of the Reverend H. Lee and Opal Davis Lewis and their 10 children. For instance, in the job scare's Great Depression, H. Lee miraculously found supplementary work as a popular department store salesman. During World War II and the Korean War, when men, not jobs, were the scarcer commodity, 3 of their uniformed sons often swayed anxiously between harm and haven, though they ultimately returned home intact. And though it was common for large families of that era to lose a child to a debilitating illness, all 10 children grew up to reasonably good health. Even the youngest child, who barely survived birth to a mother in her 40s. Though frequently destitute, they rarely despaired. Most ironic, however, was that ill fate actually produced its greatest silver lining in Maurice's life when it consigned his future wife and her 2 younger sisters to the very orphanage Maurice often visited in search of athletic companionship. And yet this seeming circle of triumph over tragedy suffered its first fracture in Mrs. Lewis's death, and just when the family was entering an overdue era of prosperity. In a way, Opal's spiritual departure focused Maurice on his own vocational emergence, an epiphany which, consistent with his family's typical twists of fate, initially compelled Maurice to grapple more with elimination than election. He had no discernible call to the ministry, as did his father and 5 of his brothers. A Korean War veteran, he did not want to raise his family in a tumultuous military environment. Thus he let his enlistment in the Marine Reserves lapse. He felt he hadn't the time and resources for higher education, especially law school. After the war, a history degree enabled a brief stint of teaching and coaching high schoolers. The job proved personally fulfilling, but unsustaining of his growing family. Eventually, Maurice secured employment as an insurance agent with a prestigious company. His subsequent hard work eventually earned him the respect and mentoring of his own employer, himself a combat veteran. This certainly set the stage for Maurice's future vocational venture. However, it was that family reunion reprise, so invoking of his own Lazarus-like battlefield resurrection from near-fatal wounds, that refined his focus on the commitment and consecration so characteristic of his military-turned-minister brothers and his merchant minister father. During this phase of his life, Maurice acquired the vision of a self-styled ministry of salesmanship tempered by a profound sense of servitude. Such unprecedented access to celebrities and leaders in both industry and government would ultimately climax in Maurice's status as friend and counsel to the nation's highest elected officials. Though the years following this reunion epiphany would entail much travel and resettlement of his own family, Maurice knew he would return, for good, to his hometown, a city, incidentally, of some misnomer. For though his hometown had helped make Maurice his own Gibraltar, to him it would always proudly remain his little rock.